Thank you for taking advantage of our self-study dog reading course. Please take notes, take breaks as you need to, and do what you need to do to learn the information on each slide. It will make your work with dogs easier and more effective. This is your course. Take your time and get the information you need to understand what dogs are trying to tell you. We need to understand what information is helping people and how it's working. So please help us by completing the pre-test before starting the course. You'll be asked to take a post-test also. They're short and simple, but so valuable to our educational program. We all care about animals. Behavior science gives us information to help us take the right actions to reduce their stress and increase their success. Here's just a little information about how animals hear things differently and in some ways similarly to the way humans do. We know animals experience the world differently than humans do in the area of smell. Here's a little bit of information about just how definitive their senses of smell are. The qualities of animals' sense of sight are really important to how they experience the world too. Sometimes we focus on their sense of smell and maybe then their sense of hearing, but we forget that visual is a very big deal. They see what's going on, they see things moving, they see things they've never seen before, and it makes a big difference to them, so take that into account. One thing that animals have that humans really don't are tactile vibrissae, or whiskers. We don't really know everything about how the whiskers work, but they're on dogs' muzzles, their eyebrows, and on the backs of cats' wrists. We're talking about dogs right now, so it's really important to watch the whiskers move around. That tells you something. Certainly they can pick up vibrations if they're touched. We're not sure if they can pick up vibrations out of the air, but we know the information is carried to the brain via nerves. And so that's another way that animals experience the world that can help us if we pay attention. Let's first consider behaviors that indicate fear. Fear is the basis of most behavior issues that cause problems for humans. Even most aggression we see is based in fear. Take a look at these general observations. File them away as visual images that you can look for in dogs that you come into contact with, so you'll know when they're experiencing stress due to fear. It may help to see a human, a more familiar species to us humans, showing behaviors indicating fear. We can fairly easily correlate what we're seeing in this guy with some of the behaviors we see in dogs that are fearful. This guy is clearly afraid of you. Here's a dog looking not unlike the man in the previous slide. Notice how his body parts are pulled back. The whites of his eyes are showing. His ears are pulled back. The corners of his mouth are pulled back. His whiskers are forward, however. The muscles beneath them tense. We can see the little dimples at the base of each whisker. This dog is afraid. Let's take a look at behaviors that indicate aggression, or when dogs are ready to defend themselves. It may have begun in fear, but now they're ready to defend themselves. They may want to change the situation by getting you to move away. We also call these distance increasing behaviors, because when dogs show them, people and other animals often move away. As humans, we may be pretty familiar with the behaviors we're seeing in this guy. Crossed arms indicating I don't really want to interact with you. Tense face. Eyebrows straight but tense nonetheless. We don't really know if he's about to get angry or if whoever he's looking at is going to go ahead and move away, because that seems to be what he's saying. Not unlike what we see in dogs that are ready to defend themselves. Here's a dog who's sending a lot of distance increasing signals. Everything is forward. He would like you to go away. Hackles up, ears forward, eyes tense, face tense. Take a look. You may have seen dogs like this before. This is a dog who's ready to defend himself if he needs to, but you still have a chance to change things so he doesn't feel like he needs to defend himself anymore. Here's what we want. We want the look of friendliness. File these visual images away. This is what you're going for. This is what you can use your behavior to try to create in a dog that you're working with. It's not enough that the dog's not going after you or is not so scared of you he can't move. We want the dog to be making that choice to offer maybe just a small friendly gesture, a touch of curiosity, so that we can build on that and let him know we really are okay and it would be great to interact with us. Here's a friendly guy, not a care in the world. Relaxed body and face, no tension, exaggerated movements, super friendly. And here's what you want. These are friendly gestures. Notice the curving soft bodies, soft faces, soft eyes. Look at their mouths. Look at the exaggerated movements with the corgi's legs lifted as high as he can lift them as he bounces along. These are dogs that are not using their energy to tense their bodies up in fear or aggression, so they have plenty of extra energy to curve around and relax and show those friendly gestures and let you know that they're ready to be invited to interact, maybe. All animals have a full range of emotions available, just as humans do. We're not here to label animals, but to show you the power you have to select which behaviors you'd like to see more of in a dog and which you'd like to change. Changing behavior shows us we've changed a dog's emotional state. Quick observations and quick changes of your own behavior are key. Dogs are either stressed and anxious, or they're relaxed and comfortable, or they're somewhere in between. This is due to the number of stressors or triggers that are influencing them at any moment, just like it's true of the same thing for you and me. One trigger or stressor, pretty much anybody can deal with. Two, most can cope with those. Three triggers at the same time become pretty difficult for some of us and some dogs. Go over that and everybody's different. We don't know who can cope with that number of things going on. That's what's going on with dogs all the time. We can control some of the triggers. We can control our behavior. We can control some things about the environment that are affecting the dogs. And we need to do that because we don't know all the things that are going on with the dog at all times. Our observations will help. Our modification of some of the behaviors can lead dogs into being more relaxed more often, and that's what we're going for, but trigger stacking is still in play. If you work with dogs, it's incredibly important to learn as much as you can about reading what dogs are trying to tell you. The reason is that stress is best prevented. Reducing stress is very important. Preventing stress is even more important. The sooner we can see that dogs are becoming stressed, the better job we can do to prevent. Call it what you will: stress, anxiety, worry, concern. Here's a list for you to refer back to as you continue through the course and as you continue with your work with dogs. Learn how to observe these things. Have the images in your mind so that you're ready to look for them. And remember that different dogs show different signs in different situations. So the better you are at seeing them, the better you'll be at interacting appropriately with every dog you see. Another handy reference list. The previous one was more about facial expressions. This one is about what to look for in a dog's carriage of his own body or his posture, what he's doing with his body that may indicate being conflicted, being fearful, being worried, whatever you want to call it, as opposed to what means the dog is super friendly. What are those friendly gestures that he may offer you to show you how to interact with him well? Besides just the dog you're observing, there are many other things that you can observe that will help you understand what's going on with that individual dog. Other dogs in the area, other animals, bad weather, thunder, loud noises. Things in the environment that may be meaningful to that dog and that he may feel like keeping for himself. These are all things to look at to show you what's going on and things that you might be able to change to make your interaction with the dog better. A tight leash is a trigger that we can control as humans. Do what it takes to loosen that leash so that you're not adding another trigger to the stack. It's never a good idea to have a tight leash. The main thing we need to remember is to watch for whether a dog is showing friendly gestures or he's showing many signs of stress. Of course, sometimes they're showing friendly gestures and some signs of stress. But as long as you have a little bit in the direction of friendly gestures, you're ahead of the game. Responses change in just a second, back and forth, over and over throughout your interaction with the dog. So pay attention. Do what you can to reduce the stress, to change the environment, to pay attention to the triggers that are stacking up to affect this dog, and you'll have a much better experience in helping him. Here's another human example, because sometimes it's a good idea to remind ourselves of how important nonverbal communication is, whether it's between humans or between ourselves and an animal who can't use language or speak. The more we pay attention to the body language and other nonverbal communications in our own species, the better we'll be at observing the same thing in other species. Clearly, these people are ready to interact. Look how clear the nonverbal communication is between these same two people. One, cautiously interested in interacting, the other, no way. With people or animals, it's important to pay attention so we don't push past the point where they're comfortable with us being there. If you're ever around a group of dogs or people, watch their nonverbal communication for very subtle differences in each individual's expressions of their feelings, their desires, what they're interested in, and what they don't want to do. Here's your first activity. Get a notepad and a pen if you don't already have one, and follow the instructions on the next slide. Make your notes, check yourself, and see what you can learn. How did you do? Good job. Let's move on to how we're going to respond to some of these dogs now that we can read what they're trying to tell us. There are some situations where handling a dog is just not avoidable. You may really need to put a leash on a dog, put the dog somewhere, or take her somewhere, or handle her in some way, because it's an emergency. If the dog is upset and you can avoid the task, do so. A toenail trim is probably not an emergency, and neither is going for a walk. Set your emotions aside. We know we didn't mean to upset a dog, but when it's clear we did, we can't just push forward like it didn't happen. There's always a little space between you and a dog to allow him to approach. Maybe just to take a step towards you, or even lean towards you. Ask a dog if he'd like to interact. If he says no, change something and ask again. Figure out how to get a yes. Every time you do something, the dog you're working with will respond in some way. If you don't like what you see, don't do the same thing again. The dog has already told you what he'll do if you do that. Make a mental note of what you did that a dog responded unfavorably to, and make a plan to condition him to that stimulus later. Now is not the time because he's already been pushed past his limit for that particular stimulus. Right now, if you have something you need to do with the dog, you need to do something different. Here are some tools to help you get yourself and a dog out of a situation in which he becomes overwhelmed and can't really cope anymore. That situation that we dread and really want to prevent. But they do happen, and what we really would like to do is just airlift the dog out of there in a microsecond. But we can't really do that, so we've got to figure out a way to get him out of there quickly and safely for everyone. Now you're going to have a chance to look at the expressions and body language of some real dogs at a real shelter. You're going to do this all on your own, no narration. These are photos that were taken by photographers at the shelter in attempts to help the dogs look really cute on their files so that people would want to adopt them. The pictures you're going to see are the pictures that didn't make it into the file. You're going to see some super stressed dogs. How many times can I stress that a tight leash is never a good idea? Dogs don't know any better, but we do. We humans are smart. We can learn leash skills and we can try different things. Never get into a leash pulling situation with a dog, even for a second. It doesn't help anything. The word is pronounced piloerection. If a dog's already afraid they're going to lose something that they want to keep, and then somebody takes it from them, their worst fear just came true. How do you think that's going to affect them? We are training dogs all the time that we're around them, so we may as well be teaching them things that are going to be useful to us or to their next owner. And we can trade dogs treats for toys. There are ways to get them to drop toys, or we can just wait. We can even trade food for food. Get creative. If you were worried that we were never going to see a dog offering friendly gestures, your worries are over. Watch how this dog starts out super relaxed and how everything changes when someone comes in and interacts with her in an inappropriate way that's not okay with her. Another new word, brachycephalic. Dogs with smushed faces. As you look at the next three pictures, make some notes about how you think these dog-to-dog greetings are going. Use what you've learned about how dogs indicate that they feel relaxed or that they're aroused, and just see what you can figure out. The answers follow. Thank you for completing the dog reading self-study course. Please take your post test now.